Alrighty, welcome to episode 237 of Backpacking America. I got Nico and Roman with me right now who are using aliases because it's a very sensitive subject we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the Second Amendment and in defense of it. So the reason why we're talking about such topics because it's July 4th in about 30 minutes at the time we're recording this. And this mini week is going to be dedicated to freedom and America and all that cool stuff. So today we have some legal experts here that actually informed me about penal
Not
code.
experts.
Well, all right. Well, you're the
We know
show's
a lot.
experts, the show's experts on this,
Dang.
and y'all put me on to Penal Code 400 and how some police departments are violating that by delaying pistol permit processing time. So welcome to the show, Nico and Roman.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
Thanks for having us.
happy to be here.
You're very welcome. I mean, thank you. I'm sorry. I burped really loud, so it was kind of funny. It took me off kilter. So what do you got? What do you got for me on Article 400, Nico?
I mean, basically, it says what it says. It says within 6 months, you either need to be issued or denied the license, unless basically the person giving the license, the licensing officer, sends you a letter stating otherwise
So
with a
like,
valid reason.
what's a valid reason?
I don't know how they it works in there, but I'd assume some kind of criminal history that they got to look into.
Well, like, what would
That would
such a
be reasonable denial, like that in the spirit of the law.
I understand. Okay, but a
I
lot
guess
of
when they wrote
people,
this law in 1911.
yeah. Actually, a fun fact about that. That law was created because someone tried to shoot a New York City politician, and yeah, of course, all our problems start from the city. And the guy was like, "Oh, I want pistols banned now." So they tried to like
Yep.
find loopholes to ban them. So
Sullivan Act.
the Sullivan Act, yes, yes,
Yep.
Senator Sullivan, that bastard. So when it comes down to it, the Suffolk County Police Department, as we all know, is notorious for taking a year and a half to process these applications, and they do not give valid reason, and no one ever gets a a brain go think. No one ever gets a letter stating a valid reason. It's just always like this is what it takes, and if you complain, you're gonna get your pistol license revoked or the process ended. Um, so it's a very concerning aspect, and another thing that concerns me about the pistol licensing in general, one of the reasons why I'm against licensing for guns is that if you're a town employee and you speak out against your town or your municipality, if they know someone, they could pull your license, which has allegedly happened at MacArthur Airport when two workers supposedly took issue with how the commissioner was running things and then got their pistol licenses revoked within the week.
Wow. What happened with that case? Was there any violent aspect to it at all?
I don't know. I really don't know what the any of the details. What I do know is
Yeah.
that, it's all hearsay. It's all, shop talk. But it concerns me because it flies in the face of liberty, that the fear that you're going to be subjected to reprisal, legal reprisal for speaking your mind or for saying something, really just speaking your mind. I mean, especially with the red flag laws now, too. If someone doesn't like you, they could make up a story and deem you a threat. I mean, how many times have we seen in New York, a
Happens all
spouse
the time.
Oh, yeah, like, with spouses especially, they'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure now, d do you I don't know if there's any I don't know specifically of a case in that regard, but I do remember listening to, reading some stuff on the internet about it. I don't know, do you have any specifics?
What, on like a red flag by your spouse?
Yeah.
I mean, it happens all the time.
Mm.
Somebody makes up something, the guy gets revoked. Then the next thing you know, he doesn't even bother going through the process of nothing happens in court with the guy, and then he doesn't even bother trying to get his license back because it's just the hassle of the whole system.
There
And it was
ex
designed that way on purpose.
Yeah, it's basically backdoor gun confiscation, and,
It's some people just give up.
there except for one guy, there's one guy in New York, um, who is fighting against it, and I'm trying to look for his name. I know
What,
that
he got red flagged?
yeah, he got red flagged, and he was like, "No, this is BS." Let's see here. Red flag laws cases soared exponentially. Um, Charlie, while I'm looking for this, explain what red flag orders are for our listeners out there.
Well, basically, somebody says something that makes an accusation against another person about something violent or something, or even says something minor. They might jokingly say they're going to hurt themselves or something.
Hmm.
Next thing you know, they come, they take all your guns, and it kind of takes away the due process aspect to the whole situation. You know what I mean?
Oh, it definitely does. It's it's a backdoor gun confiscation. I know that in New York. Where is this guy's name? I know in 2019, I'm sorry, in 2023, 82 people in Erie County were flagged, and the numbers have gone up for sure. It says here that according to a Politico article, that the numbers soared to 4,257 in 2023. So it definitely doubled since the COVID pandemic and the number of red flag protection orders being issued. And there's one gentleman, for the life of me I can't recall his name, but he filed like appeals with the state of New York saying that red flag laws are unconstitutional and that, he's not in danger of killing himself and that someone falsely reported it or took it out of context, and he still can't get his guns back over a year later. Even
Yeah. So
though and there's no
that's
process.
actually active in another part of the state. There's a basically a hold on a law on our red flag laws in the state
There is a hold on the
because
red flag laws.
it was ruled unconstitutional by a certain I think it was a lower court
Really? So
in the
red flag
state.
laws are not
I don't know
in
which
effect.
in part of the state. I
Interesting.
b Yeah, it was a certain district judge.
Oh, wait, so basically the district judge, so I'm not really like a legal expert or like legally savvy in certain regards.
Mhm.
So if a lower court strikes it down, it doesn't apply to that area of the court? I mean, that area of the
Basically,
state?
until it I'm not an expert either, but until it makes it to the Supreme Court, really, or even like a higher state court where it would apply to the whole state.
No, it says here in late December, a New York Supreme Court judge ruled that the state's so-called red flag law, which lets the government confiscate guns from lawful citizens without due process, is unconstitutional.
So I wonder if there's a like a hold on that law.
Probably, I'd
Trying
imagine.
to find out.
There's a trend. What I've been noticing is that a lot of the anti-gun legislation has fallen apart in the last 6 to 8 months. It really just
It really has
collapsed.
ever since Bruin. Really, the
Oh my God, yeah,
whole thing kind of fell apart.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
didn't
I
they just strike down on the braces too?
Yeah, I
To stop?
believe the brace thing is there's basically been an injunction on that. I believe.
Oh, that's an injunction now. I thought Biden signed a, oh, wait, no, 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 that got rem you're right, it did get no, didn't the House voted didn't the House pass a resolution? Or th no, it was the Senate that passed a resolution for the pistol brace, and then Biden now has to sign it, right? Or does it get kicked back to the House?
I believe it was the other way around. I think the House signed something saying that they basically just like a verbal thing saying that oh yeah we don't support
I
this
see.
measure the ATF is taking now. It's just like an official
Yeah, it was something
uh,
with K it was something
statement.
with it was something with Kevin McCarthy, where he wouldn't side with, like, the majority of Republicans, and, like, there was a split, so it technically went on to the Senate.
Right. Yeah, and obviously in Senate it would be DOA.
The Senate, it would be DOA? I thought the
Yeah,
Senate was held
Senate
by the
is
Democrats.
I believe the Senate is held by the Democrats, like 53 of them or something.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be DOA, it would get approved by the Senate, and then it would get sent to, Joe Biden.
Oh, I thought you were saying. I thought you were talking about. You're talking about like a brace ban. No, there was no. I thought you were talking about like basically the opposite. Them basically saying braces are legal.
No,
But
no,
with
no. I'm
that,
talking about the brace ban.
yeah, no, brace
No,
ban was all done through the ATF. It was done from like
yeah,
a three-letter agency and really no congressional approval or anything like that.
And that got struck down.
yeah.
It it's in the works of being struck down, but
I
it's
understand.
going to be struck down.
Yeah,
Yes.
that put 40 million Americans at risk of being felons. And I
Yep.
think the compliance rate was less than 1%. I think only 10,000 braces got turned in out of like 40 million. And for those of like for those of you that don't know what a pistol brace is, it essentially allows someone that's disabled, elderly, or really just disabled and elderly people to properly shoot their sidearm. So what they do is it's like kind of like a metal it's like a metal and Velcro strap apparatus that you put around your arm, and it's just stabilizes it so you could shoot it properly. Because a lot of the older guys that still want to shoot their pistols, they got, they may have MS, they may have Tourette's, which, I mean, if you have Tourette's, I'd hope you don't be shooting your gun, but still, it's your right. That's a recipe for disaster, you know, or they got arthritis, so it's harder to hold the gun. It's really for old guys. I mean, it's like it's not even for and this is the stupid thing about um the ban. They're trying to say, "Oh, it's to prevent mass shooters." Mass shooters don't use pistols and they're not going to use a pistol brace when they could just get a PC9 carbine or they could just get an AR or get anything else, honestly. Like why would you use and it's already difficult to get pistols. Why would you wait like a year and a half, 2 years in Suffolk County to go get a pistol to do that when you could just do anything else or you could even build one? I mean, it's like,
Or you could. I mean, people will just break the law, especially somebody wanting to do something like that.
yeah, a lot of these guns are stolen too. That's one thing that we have to talk about with mass
Yep.
shootings is that a lot of these guns are stolen from family members or friends, or um they're previously they're like acquired and then like that day they go and use it and they have no gun experience and a lot of I guarantee you if you talk to some of the in the rare instances where one of these individuals did shoot up a school or a major public area, if you I
Hmm.
guarantee you if you interviewed the gun store employee that sold them the gun, they'll be like, "Yeah, the guy was a little off." And in that case, I would say it's the duty of the store to properly to use their discretion and just not
And they
um
have that right too.
yeah, and they have the right to refuse service to someone. Like you guys are the first line of defense for this country. Like you have to take into account that like yo like if you sell this person a gun that they're going to use it whether it's for good or evil and you need to be the determinant of that. I
I mean,
think
yeah,
gun
there's some obvious signs with somebody, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean I remember during the pandemic I went and I bought a shotgun and I was just talking about how crazy people are getting, how like there's people that are flooding in buying guns. They'd never used guns before, and I'm all for first time shooters, but something that really concerns me about panic buying is that there's people that think they're arming up for the zombie apocalypse
Yeah.
and and it's like they don't even know how to shoot the damn thing. So like there's not like logic being applied or common sense being applied with some of those purchases. And the guy was telling me, he was like, "Yeah, I had a guy come in the other day and he was like, "What's the fastest gun I can use to kill the most people?"
Jesus. I
And
mean,
obviously the
that's a
guy
red
got to
flag. Obviously, he was denied.
yeah,
I
he was
hope the police were
denied.
called too,
I hope they were. I didn't get that
because
far
that
in the
guy's got to be
conversation.
looked into.
He does, but I doubt they called the police. I guarantee you they just said, "Get the hell out of my store. I'm not selling you this gun." Oh wait, no, 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 no. He actually did report it to NICS. He did report it to the National Instant Criminal whatever.
I'd bet.
S-
Yeah, I mean, most gun stores would do that.
Good. So I'm actually glad they did that. I'm glad I remembered that too. Um, so there's people like that, like they are the first line of defense. Like if you're obviously crazy, they're going to say something, but you also it's difficult too because if someone looks crazy but they're acting sane, it's like, am I profiling this guy? Is he just having a bad day? So I understand that aspect too, but I think in this age too, I think gun stores, gun owners, and all that, we all have to be very cognizant of the fact that there are going to be a lot of crazy people out there, and we have to use our discretion when we're interacting with people.
Yeah, I mean anybody could say anything. That's a problem, and like New York doesn't really take it serious. That people could make things up,
And that's the
stuff
thing
like
too.
that.
It's like we have all these restrictive laws in place, and then when it comes time to use them, no one wants to use them, and then we use them on the wrong person.
Mm. Yeah,
But like even with the Thomas Valva case, like how many times does CPS get called on a family for like minor infractions, and then the kid comes to school covered in piss and shit, and nothing's triggered. CPS doesn't do anything. But they'll come and be like, "Oh, my mommy said that I was a loser," and then like you get fucking taken away and put in the foster system. It's just kind of like
Crazy.
it's crazy. It's like, what are we doing, guys? Like, what the
yeah. The,
fuck?
the kid might have talked about, oh, I like to go shooting with dad.
Yeah, and
So
then
it's like,
that,
oh my god,
bro, literally, and that's another
can't
thing
talk
too
about
about,
that. It's just a
yeah,
societal thing.
it really is. I mean, like when I was growing up, I was shooting since I was like, I don't even know, like 9. And, guns have always just been like a very normal thing in my life and in my house. And now it's like at the age where we're in the age where it's almost unacceptable, taboo, and almost like people assume it's illegal to own a gun. And it kind of
People do by default. They're like, oh, you want a gun? Oh my god,
that's
Yeah.
illegal. And it's like
you
that's
break the law. It's like, no.
it's like we have a constitutional right, and that's what concerns me is like we're not
They got
taught.
no clue. Well, you got your license for that? It's like, what
I
license?
well like yeah, like I
Unless
had
you're
a gu-
talking about a handgun, obviously that's a different story. But
or unless you live in New York City, for some
or
godforsaken
New York
reason.
City, or I want a semi-auto rifle now.
Yeah, no, that's crazy too. So this is what's actually funny about Kathy Hochul's semi-automatic ban. Um so I remember like looking at the NICS system like in the months leading up to all my lights just like flickered on and off. I hope I don't lose connection. Um so the NICS system, I looked at all the background checks done
Hmm.
in the months leading up to the September 8th ban on semi-automatic rifles, and they went up by I believe like 10,000 or 20,000
By
from what
how
they'd
much?
normally by 10 or 20,000
Wow.
for the state. So people were flooding, and I remember too because I was one of the panic buyers during that
I think I
that
remember
era.
that.
Yeah, I remember. Do you remember the lines? Like all
Yeah,
the
that was.
semi-automatic rifles were gone. They'd be like, "Yeah, our PC9s just sold out. Our lowers just sold out. Our ARs just sold out. All the military surplus rifles flew off the shelves." I saw a guy walk in and just threw down like $2,400 on an M1 Garand. Um, I saw another guy do the same thing after him. I saw another guy buy a reproduction M1 Garand. I bought an SKS. I bought some other stuff. I was like, yo, like because you're never gonna get it again. I'm a collector, and if you're a collector too, that's the worst part because all those World
Hmm.
War II guns are off the shelf. So then it's like you're
It's
screwed.
unfortunate. Yeah.
It's very unfortunate. I had plans to purchase a lot of these rifles for commemorative value, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'd love an M1 Garand, but I'm not at the point in my life where I want to buy a gun that I'm barely gonna shoot. So, um, I already do that with my AR. I barely shoot the fucking thing. I personally hate AR-15s because I think they're
They're not
pussy
that
guns.
interesting.
They're really not. It's just it's a very accurate. It's a marksman rifle that you can pull the trigger multiple times on. But if you get dirt in it, it's gonna jam up. So, you're better off with Chinese products such as the SKS or the Russian products like the Mosin Nagant, and where you can literally dump a gallon of semen in it and it will still work. So, that's more like my critique of it. Yeah, that's off topic, I understand, but like I hate AR-15s because I think they're inferior guns. You hate AR-15s because you're a liberal. So, we're not the same. I'm not
We're
talking
not the
I'm
same.
yeah, I'm not talking about Nico and Roman, by the way. I'm talking about like liberals and stuff. Um
Nah, I do feel that. Nah, I think the AR-15. I disagree. I think it has a place.
it does have its
You know,
place.
it's the
Like
most common rifle. in the country.
And I
It's just
support
it's an old system, and it's a little quirky.
It works.
it do
Does what
work.
it needs to do.
It's just kind of like I don't know what the I think for like urban, like it's a good ranch rifle or like something for like patrolling property or something like that. Like I think it's a fine. It's just what it is in New York too. This is another thing when it comes down to like the restrictions, right? Like the evil features.
Hmm.
Um, I don't even know if that's constitutional because
Oh, absolutely not. I'd say.
explain that. Well, first, let's explain what evil features are to our audience. So, evil features are if you have a muzzle brake, which is like I don't even know how to describe a muzzle brake. If you have a pistol grip, if you have a forward grip, if you have a detachable magazine function and an extendable stock. Did I get everything right, Charlie?
Well, basically, it's what you said, except the detachable magazine isn't really a feature. It's any rifle with a detachable magazine and these features,
Oh, gotcha.
and
Okay.
any one of these features. So you only need one. It used to be two before 2013.
Really? You need now it's just one. So if I have everything fine but a muzzle brake and a
Yeah,
detachable
that's
magazine.
that gun would be illegal to own.
See, now that's what doesn't make any sense too, because the muzzle brake doesn't even do anything for the gun, nor does like a pistol grip.
Yeah.
So that's the thing too, is that like so guys, if you have any of those features and you're caught with it with a detachable magazine, you can get a felony. So that's like 10 years in prison.
Yep. It'd be a Class D felony, which is 2 to 7 years.
2 to 7 years. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought it would be like 10. I thought it was the full 10, but so basically if you have like these evil features on your AR-15, you have to have your magazine locked in place. And unfortunately, it's so expensive to make AR-15s that do not have evil features on them and are New York and California compliant that a lot of manufacturers just say, F, okay, we'll just, put a pin in the magazine and make it fixed, which
Or
makes
the
using
FFL does it.
or the FFL does it.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to shoot AR-15s effectively without hurting yourself, without damaging the gun, and without making the shooting experience enjoyable. So it's not an enjoyable experience whatsoever.
Mhm.
That's actually one of the reasons I don't use it so much because I have to break the gun in half like a break shotgun to load it. It's really annoying.
Yeah, it's
And
ridiculous.
but then
And
what
it
what
protects nobody. It's a stupid law.
yeah, it just hurts people. It's like not for nothing, and this is the stupid part about the law too. You can actually just like take a drill out the pin that holds the magazine in place, and then just put like a button in it or whatever, and that's all legal. It's the same thing with the black powder pistol loophole in New York. So you could own a black powder pistol, but if you happen to own the pistol and the elements to fire the black powder, so if you own the powder, the casings
If they're
and
close together, it'd be,
You're right.
yeah, it would be a felony. But what you can do is you can buy a conversion kit and just swap out the black powder cylinders for regular cylinders, and now you have a 38 special as a within an 1850s gun. So
but you
it's
are
like
breaking the law.
you're totally breaking the law, but and make no bars about it. Like we're not saying to go and do these things, but it just shows how ridiculously stupid the laws
Yeah, it
are.
makes no sense.
It really doesn't make any sense. And now the unconstitutionality of it, let me hear like what makes it specifically unconstitutional.
Which part? The licensing?
The evil features
Oh,
part, and then we'll get into the licensing.
the evil features. I mean, obviously, it's a common use rifle. It's in all 50 states. People are using these rifles.
Right.
So that's first. That's first of all. That's the common use clause. So not only are they breaking, I think constitutionality, but they're also breaking a federal law.
Mm.
Um, and with the constitutionality thing, I mean, to me, it's pretty obvious. There's no reason that you know the people of 1776 would think that I can't have a certain feature, but the musket at that time was the gun. Everybody had one. The military had one. farmer had one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everyone had them. It was very uniform back then. There
People had
wasn't like
could have cannons.
yes,
You know what I
they
mean?
could.
Citizens could own cannons and warships,
You still can.
and you still can. Yes,
You still can own a cannon. I don't know about a warship, but
you can own a black powder cannon, which is what most cannons are.
that is true. Wait, so I can't own a howitzer though?
No, that would be illegal. That would be AOW, I believe,
An AOW? What's that?
which is any other weapon. I
Any
think
other weapon
you need a tax
charge?
stamp.
Wait, so I just need to pay $200 and I can get a cannon? Like a howitzer?
I'm not positive on that, but I believe, yeah, you can just get a stamp and buy it in AOW. I'm not sure if that would still be an AOW.
So explain like the tax stamp loophole.
Loophole? Not really a loophole, but
I
basically
mean,
it says that you need to pay $200 every time you want to, cut off those barrels on your double barrel,
but
and you can't do
that's
that in certain states.
oh wait, so in New York State you can't pay the $200 and just cut the barrel off?
Nope, no tax stamp would be approved in New York unless
Ah.
it was for a police officer.
Oh, of course. Of
The
course.
mighty exemption.
The mighty exemption. So like when the New York Safe Act first happened, it actually almost wasn't a thing because cops were getting pissed off that they were made felons overnight because of the magazine limits in their pistols. So,
Well, I believe actually they forgot to add cops, and they said, "Oh, well, that was implied," but it really wasn't in the law.
yo, that's so funny. Yeah, so actually,
They didn't
if they
add it with a budget or something.
they did, yeah, they added it in 2013 or 14 and they were like cuz a lot of cops were really pissed off and sheriff's departments were like, "Yeah, we're not going to enforce this." So they're like, "Oh, we now have to give the cops exemption." So every time the a new gun law rolls around, they're like the cops are like, "So where's our exemption from the gun laws?" And you know, they get them. So it just kind of flies in the face of like overall liberty because if you really
Yeah,
think about it, I
it's
mean,
funny because a cop in New York State can have, an AK-47 rifle, full features, 30-round magazines, a whole bunch of them, as many as he wants. Could
mhm.
go to the range and shoot it, and that somehow he needs an exemption for that.
Yeah,
It's just weird to think that that gun has. I mean, it has nothing to do with his job.
no, you're not
And
gonna
I'm not knocking
carry.
him. I would do the same thing. I would own those things if I could.
I
You know what I
absolutely
mean?
would too. Yeah. I mean, they're safer to use. I mean, even if you look at like, well, it flies in the face of freedom because it creates like a different class of citizenship and it creates corruption and it's like you said, it's not you're not going to carry an AK-47 for your job as a police officer and
But you have the
doubly,
exemption. You're allowed to buy it.
but
You're
yeah,
like a special class kind of citizen.
it's
There's
insane.
other exemptions as well. There is other groups of people that can have certain things.
Yeah, it's wait, you can have that legally?
There is other groups of people that have some sort of exemption. It's not just police officers. It's called Penal Law 265,
Mm, I see.
and there's certain 265 exemptions, which is
Mm.
all those charges for pocket knives, freaking So a police officer is allowed to have a switchblade, uh, nunchucks, brass knuckles. Somehow that applies. They need that for their job.
Yeah, right? I don't understand that at all. I
No,
you
I
know,
mean
it
I don't blame them. I'm happy the PBA got the exemption. I'm happy for them. You know what I mean?
I am too, but I just don't well, I mean, I'm not really happy for them. I think they suck for that. I ain't gonna hold you. But
You think they suck for getting their members the exemption?
yeah, I think they're horrible for that. I don't think you should be allowed to have an exemption for,
I
being a
understand what you're saying. Where like I totally agree with you that it's wrong to make two classes of citizens.
right.
But I mean, even as like say you're a carpenter, I want carpenters to be exempt. It doesn't matter what group of people. If we could get anybody exempt, that's a good thing in my book. But I don't know,
I mean,
because a lot of them are Joe Schmo. They're just blue collar guys going to work.
regular guy. I mean, I understand that too, but it just really bothers me because there's no they're the people enforcing the law, so they're going to enforce that against us. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what my biggest concern is they're going to be the ones using it against everyday Americans. Because say for example,
So I know a lot of cops that would not enforce this law.
okay.
And not only that, but I mean, like, there's entire, like, sheriff's departments upstate that have flat out said that we're not enforcing a lot of these laws, not enforcing Safe Act. Now you have restricted locations and sensitive locations. I mean, that's not being enforced.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even when these people, what happens usually, they hang it over your head. So it's basically leverage for the licensing agencies.
Mm.
They use it as, oh, well, they caught you in this location. Let's revoke them, and now they got nothing to fight back because they don't want to be hit with the felony. You
Oh,
know what I'm saying?
that's how they do it.
Basically to hang over your head. So they're like, oh, well, let's just threaten this guy with his life.
Well, that's
And
my problem though. That's not liberty. That's not in the spirit of America.
it's not liberty.
And the
No,
thing is,
it's horrible.
I feel like too, like, the whole concept of having a Second Amendment to defend, liberty, like, I feel like everyone's so caught up on like where they'll simp for guns and stuff to the point where like they forget like that it's a utility. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of is ironic that the pro 2A, pro liberty crowd is over here like sucking dick to just keep their rifles or whatever, like,
Oh yeah,
keep
no, you're totally right.
it's ironic. And one of the things I wanted to mention too is that, with the exemption versus the non-exemption, like with the AK-47 example, a lot of these AK-47s are they're very um they're unsafe. Like when the magazine is pinned. So like I remember once I saw a guy, his AK was jammed because he had to load the bullets in from the side of the magazine.
Hmm.
And he was like he ended up pointing the gun down to like the barrel was pointed towards the shooters. And
Oh
he
god,
was shaking
what's
the
at a range?
yeah, it was at a range and he was shaking the rifle and I'm like, point that down range. What are you doing? And I looked at it and it was a fucking it was like it was a mag lock, man. Like it was locked in.
What, they like double fed or something?
Yeah, double fed. And like, normally if it was a jam, you would remove the magazine, you would pull back the slide, and then you would, try to wiggle out the two rounds and you would throw one into the ground and then that's it. But no, you can't do that because you can't clear an essential part of the gun.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. I mean, a lot of these features are just, well, not features. A lot of this lack of features makes these guns, really unsafe. Like with an AR, where you have the stubby thing that's just not even a grip.
Yeah, like how is that? How
You
are you
have a gun
supposed to
that
shoot that securely?
try shooting an AR, a New York compliant AR at night, and look
At
at the
night?
muzzle flash.
Oh, there's no
It's
muzzle
because
flash on it?
there's a ton of muzzle flash because there's nothing on the muzzle.
Mm.
5.56 is a hot round. I mean, you got a lot of gas coming out.
Oh, so you're saying that the blowback could like be harmful?
It's not harmful. It's just you cannot see. You know what I mean? You're just seeing
Oh.
flash,
Yeah, that's the
and
problem.
and then you got a stubby grip. You can't hold your gun properly.
It's
It's
just
not safe.
asking for injuries. It's asking for injuries. And I feel
So
like if they really wanted to make guns safer, they would, bring back gun safety education in schools and they would use mental health to properly address, kids that are going to cause problems in the future instead of just letting them on their merry way. And
and they're
then,
always so obvious. The ones
I,
everybody's like, oh yeah, there was always something wrong with that guy.
dude, even Nicholas Cruz, they were just like, yo, this kid was like killing like bugs and shit and animals like maliciously in like middle school. Like there were complaints against him by
That was all
students
sorts of
and
messed up.
teachers. Yeah, like everyone was saying, yo, this dude is not okay.
Lots of red flags, and nobody does anything.
nobody wanted to do anything. And then, when it happens, they blame like people like me and you, where it's like, yo, we're
Yeah,
just trying to
guys who
like,
like just own a couple guns, maybe.
yeah, we're just trying to enjoy our hobby and go hunting and stuff. And then it's like, oh, like, am I gonna get a felony for like
Like, can
carrying
I like
this?
toss the spot? That's why I'm always by the books. I mean, I just can't afford to not be.
Yeah,
You know what I
I'm
mean?
in the same boat. It's literally it's putting restrictions on good people. And then, the way I look at it too is like in England, there's like mass stabbings and like people ramming cars into like crowds of people. So it's like the crazies are always gonna find a way to cause terror. If you take
Yep.
away the gun, you're not taking away the problem.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
it,
you're just
it
gonna change the method of whatever like a maniac does. You know?
yeah. And I personally find this flies in the face of freedom because it create, people like me and you were afraid to exercise our constitutional right, or we're afraid of being ridiculed or judged against. Like, I can't tell you how many women I've like, because my dating life is just great. Um, I can't tell you how many women have had issue with me owning firearms, and it's been like a major point of contention. And I'm like, but I go hunting and like dude, I maybe go to the range like a couple of times a year. Like I'm not
You're
going
mostly a
like
hunter.
I'm mostly a hunter. I'm not like a FUD, but like I just, I believe in the right to self-defense. I believe in shooting. I believe in, being semi-proficient in your weapon. And, that's really it. I mean, my go-to weapon is a rifle that's older than my grandmother and was used to shoot Nazis in the Soviet Union. Um, the Mosin Nagant. It's the greatest rifle ever built. A rifle is fine. Um,
Yeah, they are pretty cool rifles.
they do got good rifles. I'd kill for an SVT, man. I mean, not actually kill anyone, huh? But
Yeah,
I
be careful.
gotta be careful. Context. Um, I would love an SVT 40. Those are great rifles. The predecessor to the SKS, if you will, or the semi-automatic Mosin. But I truly believe that it makes it a culture of fear where, I mean, there's even been people like I've read on gun forums and stuff like they're afraid to seek mental health services or go on certain medications because they're like, oh, like the ATF is gonna probably kick in my
Or
door.
knock down your door because you asked for help.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why like a lot of people are afraid. Well, not a lot, but like there's a decent amount in the gun community, especially veterans that own guns. They're very afraid to get help because they don't want to be ostracized or looked at as a criminal or a potential threat when they're just like, "Yo, bro, like I'm just going through it. I'm not going to act on anything. I'm going through it." So there's like a fear of that. So the red flag law, and it's a good thing it got struck down and it's getting combated, but it creates an environment of fear, which is the antithesis of freedom. Freedom, you cannot have fear. Freedom is tyranny is fearful, and then it is truly tyrannical that we live in a society that is restricting a constitutional right and is letting feelings and emotions get in the way of the reality that this is a liberty. It should be
Yeah.
protected. Well, and that's not to say that school shootings and mass shootings aren't terrible occurrences, but and a lot of people, of course, don't focus on the shootings that happen in low income neighborhoods every week. But all
All those
shootings
don't
are.
benefit their narrative, so
Oh yeah, no, they don't. It doesn't fit their narrative, but all shootings are
so why would they
terrible.
talk about that? You know?
No, because it's only poor people getting killed, so it doesn't really suit them. They just want fake outrage porn. And that's why I hate a lot of again, like fake outrage and stuff contributes to tyranny because it builds an environment of fear. Um Mass shootings I think are like pretty low like percentage wise in the United States. And it's very like the big events and stuff. But if you're like in a poor neighborhood where it like happens a lot, like there's shot cameras and in shot sensors in Bellport, man, like North Bellport. Like
Oh
shootings
yeah, yeah,
happen.
I'm aware that those exist all throughout Long Island.
Oh yeah, I mean like shootings happen here all the time, but they ain't like in shopping malls or schools, knock on wood, thank God. But, you know, shootings happen, stabbings happen, robbings happen. Like I was in Patchogue like 2 weeks ago, and I just saw this guy get jumped for no fucking reason, bro. Like, what are you gonna do? People are people, so it just doesn't fit a narrative. Like, there's destruction and chaos all around us on a day-to-day basis, but people only care when it's on a television and CNN is talking
Yeah,
about it.
they get it's fear porn, man.
It's fear porn, and that is the antithesis of liberty in itself. Fear is
It's like after
a danger.
9/11, everybody's afraid of freaking everything.
Exactly.
Every
Now,
every Muslim guy is gonna blow everybody up. Apparently,
yeah,
that's what they want you to believe.
Islamophobia was at an all-time high until 2003. Like for a 2-3 year period, it was at an all-time high in this country. And I think like a lot of our critics too will be like, "Oh, well, you guys are afraid of robberies and domestic and robberies and battery and all this stuff. That's why you guys carry guns." And in a way, they are true. I mean, we are afraid of that. Don't get me wrong. Like that's something that I always get concerned about. But I'd rather be safe than sorry. And a lot of, I guess the liberals would retort then, well, we'd rather be safe than sorry and ban guns. But there needs to be like some type of a middle ground. And libs love to talk about mental health. So like, all right, let's get on the mental health bandwagon.
Hmm.
Gun stores should get on the user discretion bandwagon and not sell people those guns. And parents that own guns and have a psychopath as a child should consider giving up their child to the state or locking away your guns and throwing away the key, or maybe giving your guns to a family member that, you know, that child doesn't have access to, and work on getting that kid extra help so that way, you can have a gun in your house without fear of your child losing their shit and killing you or someone else or themselves.
Yeah, if you're in that kind of case, you're better off just not having any firearms.
Dude, I wouldn't even have butter knives. I wouldn't
If you
even
have
have the
a family
kid.
member that can't be around them, and actually, it might even be illegal in some cases
In some
to own a gun with
cases,
somebody who can't own a gun.
well, I think in New York it has to be in a locked safe and
If you're
stuff like
with a prohibited person, yeah.
yeah, if you're with a prohibited
So you
person,
can
then
own them. You just basically they have to be locked up.
yeah,
Anybody
exactly.
else, any non, normal households without any felons, you should be good.
Yeah. And that's how it is in a lot of the country, but it's well, I mean, not with the locked part for the prohibited person, but um just, if you're a normal person, you can just keep your gun laying around, but um in at least to my knowledge, I don't know anymore. New York's kind of crazy. But when it
You can't
comes
keep up
to
with the laws.
you can't. No, they change. They're ever changing because Hochul or Cuomo even would pass a law, and then the Supreme Court would be like, "No, you can't do that. Sorry."
Yeah.
Excuse me. Like the last couple of years. I mean, the last year, I'd say, or a couple of months, like the gun laws changed so much in this state. Like it went from I was talking a little bit about it on my podcast last night too. It went from like may issue to shall issue, and that blew the doors off New York State. Kathy Hochul was so pissed when that happened. It was honestly the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was great. They had a couple, little seminars where they went public speaking about, how upset they basically are in the courts, evil and all that stuff.
And then they're like, "Oh, we
That
need
was
to
funny.
stack the court." Remember when Biden got all pissy and was like, I need to do this and that." It was so funny. Um, he or whoever was managing his Twitter account, um, was like, "We need to stack the court. The Supreme Court is against health and safety and blah blah blah." And then the CDC got all pissed off. I was like, "Dude, like, why? You're the CDC. Like, what the fuck? Like, go solve cancer or something. Like, why are you bitching right now?"
Yeah.
So it was just it was a weird time, but a good time because it did push the door forward. Now there's like 28 states, I believe, with constitution carry, which means you don't need a license to concealed
And more
carry or
soon.
and more, really. Who else is on the docket for that?
I know Florida the other day. I mean, they passed the law a little while back, but it just got enacted. The law
Oh,
went
that's
active
excellent.
July
So,
1st, I
oh,
think.
that's all. Oh, that would have been based if they made it July
They
4th.
should have done it on the 4th. That
They
would have been
really
awesome.
should. I could have waited
But
3 days.
hey, let's make sure those people have their rights for those. I think having their rights for 4 more days is more important.
Yeah, I'd say so too. That's actually pretty based. The one thing Ron DeSanctimonious is doing that's just pretty fire. Um, but
He's falling apart, man.
oh god, yeah, his presidential campaign shot, but I think that
Might
he's
be
a
over
good.
for good for him.
Yeah, did you see that new ad he put out?
No, I did not see it.
Oh, it's basically like the dude. I have someone that commented in the stream that said, uh, oh, it's just a bot. Never mind. But anyway, uh, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
Just that Ron DeSantis' campaign is falling apart, and like it
Oh
looks
yeah,
like
his
Trump's
vid.
gonna be president
Yeah,
again.
so the video was like literally it had Giga Chad in it, and it was just trying to make like Ron DeSantis look like Giga Chad, and it had like one of those like stupid music tracks where it was like boom 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 boom, boom, and it was just like it was so funny. I have to send it to you. It's actually unhinged. Um, but I wish I could pull it up right now. Uh, so he's not going anywhere. But Constitution carry for our listeners is basically where you can go buy a pistol without a permit and you can conceal carry it on your personage, and
Or open in most cases
you can open
in a
carry.
lot of these states. I think Florida did not allow the open carry part, but
Oh,
most states do allow it. I think Ohio you can do open carry.
yes, you
I think
can.
North Carolina, I think most of the Constitution carry states you can open carry.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
Florida
would
took
love.
it out.
Uh,
They amended the bill.
that's
You
so
can only
gay.
open carry in Florida when you're hunting, fishing. I think there's a few other things, or
Oh,
police officer or something like that,
of course.
or security guard.
See, like I think open carry is better to be honest. I would totally go to a place where I could open carry just to have the experience. I think that's really cool.
I mean, I would do it if the culture allowed for it. I mean, it would be weird in Florida open carry, I think.
Really? You think?
I do. I mean, I think I call Florida the Republican New York
That's very true. You can have your
because they
freedoms,
have
just
all
keep
these
it to
rules.
yourself.
They still have a lot of freaking rules and stuff, but like,
Really?
I, I think so. I mean, like, mostly like their DMV stuff is insane in Florida. Their
How
fees are
so?
nuts. Something along the lines of usually it costs like $500+ to register a car in Florida.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow, that's insane. I know Pennsylvania is usually pretty relaxed.
Are they? You ever
Well,
registered a car
no, I mean with registering cars, yeah. I mean I meant more with gun laws and explosives and shit, but
there? Oh,
yeah, no, okay. Well, historically, they've started to crack down just like a little bit, but I think New York is rubbing off on them.
I think so. Yeah, Philadelphia.
Philadelphia is really fucking it up, and Vermont even is like now they limit their magazine capacity to 15 rounds,
Yep.
which is insane. But
That's crazy, dude.
that's for a conversation for another day. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you, spitting back and forth with me about this issue. I think it's really important.
Yeah, man. Happy to
So,
help.
what any last words for the folks before we get going?
Apply for your pistol license.
Yeah.
Get a lawyer
If it's
if you
after
need
6
one.
months, you could sue. Penal Code
Yep.
400, New York State
Yep.
law.
Fight
Check it out.
400. Do what you got to do.
Do it now. Yeah, always apply for your pistol permit and definitely apply for the CCW
Even if you
while
don't want
it's
a gun.
still. What'd you say?
I said even if you don't want a gun, just get your license.
Yeah, it sends a message like even if you don't have to get a pistol to maintain your
What's it
pistol
like,
license.
$5 or $10 or something like that?
It's $10 to apply and then afterwards it's like 80 or $90 after your interview to get the physical license. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about $100 to get the whole license of it. And if you have the $100 to spare, consider it a donation to protect your civil liberties.
Yep. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, no worries. And to our listeners, thank you again for listening to episode 237. getting back on that everyday grind. You want to listen to more content? Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. So yeah, thanks again, everyone, and until next time.